Next year, on August 17, 2018, the TEDxYouth program will officially make it mandatory for LPS students to attend the speaker's presentations. Any LPS students not in attendance will be marked as truant and face the appropriate consequences. Can you believe it? Well, you shouldn't, because it's not true. This is an example of fake news. Now, before I begin my presentation, here's a little something about me. My classmates, parents, teachers, and everyone have voted me the rumor buster for the last 3 years. I do not like spreading rumors, but I do like to find the truth and correct people when they're wrong. And sometimes I do spread the truth. So when you have a rumor you're unsure about, you know who to call. The thing is, I tend to be a busy person, though, because I end up correcting many misconceptions, though. Because there's always that one person that spreads some alternative rumors. The thing is, we are all drawn to this, a story that is too good to be true. Luckily in America, there's a high demand for these people in the field of journalism and politics. So instead of producing alternative rumors, they can produce alternative facts. In fact, the Federal Department of Statistics finds that 1 out of every 7.56 articles contain major falsehoods. Let that sink in for a moment. 1 out of every 7.56 articles. Because if that statistic is true, our country is doomed to fail. Miserably. It's not, I just made it up. Which leads me to my point that we should be a little skeptical of stories, facts, or statistics that sound a little too good to be true. In other words, fake news. So, what is fake news? Paul Chadwick, a journalist, editor, lawyer writing for The Guardian, and this is a real definition from a real article, defines fake news as fiction deliberately fabricated and presented as nonfiction with the intent to mislead recipients into treating fiction as fact or into doubting verifiable evidence. That's a mouthful. Want an easier definition? I'm guessing the President of the United States will simply tweet the definition as fake news is news that is fake. Period. In actuality, the term itself doesn't have a single definition. It is constantly changing, is being used in ways that users want it to be. Using false information in an election isn't all that new. Dating all the way back to 1522, Pietro Latino tries to manipulate in elections by writing harmful poems. An example of his literary satire was when he and his poetic slander at Adrian Florence, who is campaigning to become pope. Pietro called Adrian the German ringworm. Today, we really cannot do that. Because let's face it, a lot of us fell asleep during the poetry unit in our English class. But what most of us are good at are using our phones, which we spend a lot of time on. So instead of fake news in the form of poems and newspaper, fake news can explode on platforms like social media, where every tweet, share, and like creates an echo chamber of falsehoods. Fake news invalidates important political issues and raises questions that are irrelevant but eye-catching. A good example of this is the Pizzagate scandal that occurred during the 2016 election. Originally, it started as a simple rumor on Twitter, which quickly escalated into a dangerous situation. A gunman fired directly at a pizza restaurant in DC. His reason? He was completely convinced that Hillary Clinton was operating a pedophile ring out of the basement of the pizzeria. He was in DC, along with even dozens of demonstrators to protest, demanding the government to look into this case. The truth is, there was no basement. Apparently, Pietro had time traveled to 2016 to serve pizza with his poetry. In a world without Pietro, improper pizzerias, and alternative facts, we all may be able to actually trust each other. How can we truly be indivisible when we're so easily divided by lies? let's take a journey to places that have this figured out a lot better than we do. In Sweden, students or school as young as 10 on how to consume news. In Czech Republic, high school teachers instruct teens on how to identify propaganda from Russia. In the United States, public officials are only starting to propose media literacy standards in public schools. More school systems to start combating this alternative fact epidemic. One of the ways is to have a curriculum that teaches us to distinguish news from fake news. Teaching teens to be skeptical inquirers can lead them to understand other perspectives and not fall into the trap of fake news. In the 21st century, the internet is exacerbating this problem, and school systems should treat it like a 21st century problem by promoting and teaching online civic reasoning. But until then, what do? We all use our phones every day, scrolling past one headline article after another until we see something interesting. Fortunately, there are ways to detect fake news. Here are the 3 ways to detect fake news. Number 2 will shock you. Number 1, start with the headline. If it sounds like satire or something too good to be true, it's probably fake news. If you see a headline claiming that the CIA realizes that they have been using a black highlighter, you should be skeptical. I mean, do you really think black highlighters even exist? But don't stop there. We haven't even read the article where the content is really important. Headlines are not accurate representation of the article itself. Number 2, check the source. If it sounds like, if the author has crazy credentials or is not being identified, that should raise a big red flag. The website itself also gives a big clue about the truthfulness of the story. If you see other articles like 9-year-old accidentally discovered cure for cancer, world death rate is steadily approaching 85%, all from the same source, you should be regretting you even wasted your time on this website. Beware of news sources that have not stood to the test of time and you are not familiar with. Number 3, check the evidence. Many times, fake news outlets don't have evidence for their claims. And even if they do, it's often not accurate. Reputable news sources have the incentive to provide breaking news that is accurate, or else they would face a backlash. In contrast, fake news has the intent to produce articles that tricks people into believing falsehoods. Then there is also fake news that is a little hard to sniff out. And many times, credible sources can also state untrue claims. Websites like PolitiFact, FactCheck, and Snopes are all designed to assist everyone into debunking bogus statements. If a journalistic or political claim trips a warning in your head, it's always a good idea to check it with another reputable news source. Using these tools, we all can be a rumor buster. With enough people, we can even form our own rumor buster team. Your classmates, parents, teachers, and everyone might call us nosy, but I call it critical thinking. Instead of getting rumors or news from one source, listen and find news from many sources, because ultimately, when we understand our biases and the biases of others, we reach a point to respect other perspectives and not fall into the trap of fake news. We cannot let fake news continue mischaracterizing perspectives where it leads to distrust. I heard this rumor that global warming is not real and that the devastating effect on the environment, intensifying natural disasters, and devastating effect on the environment is not real. I heard this rumor that other local pizzerias are places for politicians to operate their own pedophile ring. I heard this rumor that Sandy Hook was a hoax, that the victims losing their children in the shootings was a staged scene in a conspiracy. Stories, facts, and statistics that we take for granted now are mixed with lies and fabricated data that blows the line from reality and alternative reality. In this world, there's plenty of exciting real facts and knowledge. We don't need alternative facts. I have one final rumor for you. I've heard people whisper that our generation cannot overcome the major global challenges we face. Are these rumors really true? Let us use some healthy skepticism.